Chapter 6, just one more left. Subaru, but seriously I wonder if it'll work out. Amelia, really? But I thought our plan was so good. I bet Anne and Louis-san's acting totally fooled Garfield and Frederica. Subaru, you sure? Honestly I found Louis-san's hamminess and Anne-Rose's last second stage fright absolutely shocking. And, silence yourself, Subaru. The three of them sit at the dining table, waiting to see how their plan worked out, when Anne-Rose interjects on Subaru's musings. Her cheeks burn bright red in embarrassment, which makes her look her age for once. Anne-Rose's plan to remedy their sibling relations was extremely simple. The topic was Amelia's proposal, combined with the part that Subaru couldn't figure out, that is, how to throw Garfield and Frederica in the same room while sharing the same goal. Anne-Rose utilized a memory shared between the two of them to easily overcome the issue. These meat pies that Frederica occasionally cooked had been her speciality ever since her time in Sanctuary. They couldn't be certain that Garfield also knew how to make them, but... And Frederica often mentioned it. That her grandmother taught her how to cook this, and how she remembers that her mother cooked it for her. Naturally, Garfield must have also been raised on this cooking, and I believed it highly likely that he inherited the recipe from Louis-san. From what I've seen, Garfield is something of a Nana's boy. Subaru, I've got nothing against all that. My issue's not with how you insightfully figured this out. And, HRMP. Anne-Rose puffs out her cheeks, but Subaru won't let that erase her mistake. They manage to successfully catch Frederica, and give her an excuse to get her in the kitchen without any problems. The issue is how they dispelled Frederica's suspicion and the motive they gave her. Subaru, it's with this affliction where you die without pies. Apologize to the pie. And, it was merely a slip of the tongue. There is nothing that necessitates me to apologize to. Amelia, he's right, I'm kinda unsure about that too. Okay, I'll apologize with you. And I suppose I have no choice. When Emily says so I suppose I have no choice. Anne-Rose's face flashes bright red as she readily agrees with Amelia. Subaru averts his gaze from the charming Yuri and looks at Louis, who sits meekly at the table. Subaru, Louis-san, looks like you're feeling some guilt that you snagged Garfield in your trap so perfectly. Louis, of course not, no, wait. Explain that phrasing you're using to exacerbate my guilt. You're quit that stuff pains the heart. Subaru's mean-spirited statement does bring back some of Louis's usual attitude. Then she notices that Subaru had said what he did to energize her, and... Louis, so late, after so much has happened. I'm still not sure if I'm glad I did that. I do want them to reconcile, of course. But... Subaru, you don't have worry yourself over it. They would have wound up the same as ever saying we just left them to themselves. So the outcome stays the same. All we did is make said constant outcome happen a little earlier. I think it's best that things happen sooner when they can. Louis, why's that? Subaru, otherwise it's a waste of time when you could be having fun. Humans are certain to die, so we better take action while we still have sand in our hourglass, right? Louis. Louis's eyes widen, and she gives a powerless sigh. Louis, you're one of those, Lil Sue. A guy who don't second-guess his life principles for a second. Subaru, nope, that's not it. You barely get anyone who gets stuck second-guessing minuscule things the way I do. I just try not to ruminate over it by telling myself that it's okay not to, and I'm hoping to stick to that precept. Louis, it's okay, nerd, to ruminate. Subaru, yeah. We have people we want reconciled, and the reconciliation makes everyone happy. So it's fine not to ruminate, let's get them reconciled. When there's someone you want to be with, save the worrying for later and go over to them with an EMT. Is what I've been considering lately. Though of course, he can't apply it to everything. Subaru truly is a weak person who agonizes needlessly over trivial things. While having limited time and only a handful of available choices. He would at least remove his second guessing about the choices he does make. Louis, you're right. When you get old as me, your V got so many things to teach and to learn it's overwhelming. Doubt I would've thought anything like this if I stayed in Sanctuary to my end. Subaru, you don't usually get bored of being alive when you live life. But I expect everyone's figured that one out without my input? Louis, then I guess I better enjoy myself in my limited time too. I'll start by getting excited fair my cute grandchildren ter make up, and come looking fair me ter spoil em. Subaru, honestly, I can't really imagine them just accepting anyone spoiling them. Frederica is serious to a fault, and Garfield is a contrarian. Neither of them are going to nicely accept their grandma's pampering. But since the two know, the three desire family love more than anything else, they all make for something quite charming. I apologize for intruding on the discussion. Rudeness. When the voice of a butler who silently appeared in this room whispers at Subaru's ear. Subaru's eyes shoot open in surprise as Klein takes his place to stand beside Anne Rose. And, what's happened, Klein? I will tell you that I was enjoying a blissful moment with Emily just then. Klein, it pains me to so interrupt you. Hard take. However, I am required to inform that Roswalsama has made his return. Notice. And he has? Another return from him timed so perfectly as to be calculated. Mutters Anne Rose in dissatisfaction, her brows furrowed. While Subaru weeps silently at how even Roswell's relatives feel this way about his habits, Anne Rose stands from her seat. And, it appears that my uncle has returned, so I shall be excusing myself to welcome him. Emily. Subaru and Louis-san, I request you relax as you wait here for the siblings to return. Particularly Emily and Subaru. You will be busy. Emilia, ERM? Okay, got it. I'll wait here. Emilia gives an earnest nod and Anne Rose gazes at her with affection. Then she glances to Subaru, piercing him with her gaze and negative aura. While Subaru frowns at the disparity in their treatment, Anne Rose exits the room with Klein. Which is when Subaru notices the cups of tea assembled before himself, Emilia, and Louis, and nearly squawks. Subaru, did anyone see Klein-san set this tea? Emilia, no, I didn't. Klein-san did excellent work as always. Louis, a real professional. This tea is cooled exactly to my taste. Subaru, I mean my tea's at the perfect temperature for me too, but how about you, Emilia Tan? Emilia, I like it hot, so mine is so hot. Subaru, what the hell is Klein-san? Anne Rose said to just accept it, but Subaru is having difficulty. Perhaps this is the fundamental difference between living in a parallel world and being born and raised in one. Is what he figures as he glances at Emilia and Louis, who also look to feel overwhelmed by Klein. What, so he's a deviation after all? When? Hell, so here's where all masterminds been fucking lurkin'. A few minutes after Anne Rose and Klein leave, a blonde tiger man opens the door and makes his entrance. He looks to have noticed that Subaru and the others were obviously behind the trap, his expression extremely complex. Either way. Subaru, looks like someone found out we're the villains. Garfield, CN tell you that why fucking got me good, I looked so frickin' lame. Emilia, how'd it go? Did you talk? Garfield clicks his fangs as he comes over when Emilia excitedly accosts him. Louis tucks her head in, awkward, while listening intently for Garfield's next words. Garfield looks at the two ladies and sighs. Garfield, yeah, thank your fair your excessive unneeded meddlin'. Sis and me, sure, we had our talk. Why ain't he gotta worry none? Emilia, really? Then how come you didn't come here together, holding hands? Garfield, why think we're capable v that embarrassing crap? Maybe they made up, but that don't mean a bro and a sis gonna hold hands so easy. Don't even joke. Emilia, but I don't think it's embarrassing, I think it's wonderful. Emilia looks not to be teasing, but to sincerely think this, quite unfortunately. Garfield has nothing more to say to her as he instead look at the hesitant Louis. Garfield, Granny. Louis, what's it, Lilgar? Garfield, I'm sorry for making you worry. I'm fine now, and sis is fine too. Why don't he have tea worry? Garfield rubs his nose as he talks, and Louis falls into silence. Her mouth relaxes, and an aged smile unfitting to her youthful looks arises on her face. Louis, I see. That ERS a relief. You can't put too much stress on your elders. Makes them meet their end quicker. Garfield, it ain't a damn joke when you say it, Granny, better watch out. Louis regains her casual demeanor. Garfield snorts. Garfield, anyway, Captain. And also Emilia-sama, I'm sorry fair making you do that. Subaru, don't worry about it. Me and Emilia Tan were just killing time by improving the interpersonal relations in this mansion. Nothing that deserves an apology. Right. Emilia, Subaru, you are only killing time? This was a serious issue for them, you have to take it more seriously. HPMF. Subaru, wah. My face-saving modesty backfired. Emilia fails to notice Subaru's roundabout consideration for Garfield. Or so he thinks when a smile etches itself onto Emilia's face and... Emilia, hee, just kidding. I know what you're doing. You're not honest at all, Subaru. Subaru, my god. EMK, Emilia Tan Maji Kawakama, strikes, and her mystique compounds. She must be trying to kill me, one. Garfield, the fuck did you just do to my apology, boy? Says Garfield, stunned. Subaru and Emilia share a glance, before facing him again and... Both, we were happy to help. The two give their reply to his apology. Garfield frowns in dissatisfaction as Louis shrugs in exasperation. Subaru shoots Amelia a thumbs up as she happily watches the two. Subaru, also, Garfield. What happened first with the reconciliation, but also with the supposed trigger for the whole thing, the meat pie? Honestly, I was really looking forward to it. Garfield, you don't make a pie that fucking easy. Ch.6 cook it in oven good and slow get that sumptuous taste. Sumptuous enough to put a bombum to sleep a damn good saying here. Subaru, the hell's a bombum? Is it like a bomb kitchen? But I'm pretty sure if you leave bomb kitchen unattended for too long it goes bad before it gets sumptuous. According to Garfield, it will take 2 hours before the pie is ready. Which means it'll coincide with normal dinner time, and probably wind up as a dish there. Which I must say sounds quite convenient. Having lost any way to distract himself from his hunger, Subaru redirects his attention to how to kill 2 hours of time when a familiar voice speaks up. The four glance over to the speaker, unanimously sour-faced. Why goodness. I leave the mansion to attend to business, and wah an unwelcoming hello awaits me. Subaru, not that I'm not thankful for your work. But can you please just rationalize this as you reaping what you sow, this thing where we reflexively make this expression? Also me and them are still being nice. Look at Garfield, he's gonna burst a vein. A vein bulges on Garfield's forehead as his eyes begin going bloodshot. This is the arrival of man whose refreshed expression remains stable even before Garfield's glare easily deduced from his characteristic speech pattern, Roswell L. Mathers. Roswell was the mastermind behind the events in Sanctuary, and having confessed so, has suffered a drop in amicability from basically everyone. Garfield's rage burns particularly hot, and it's impossible to predict when he'll explode. Subaru also feels mixed emotions about Roswell. And after hearing postface to Roswell's confession, his uncertainty has only peaked. Subaru knows that Roswell is not responsible for everything that happened in Sanctuary and the mansion. For some reason, Roswell has only revealed this information to Subaru. Subaru doesn't know why this is, but feels no urge to purposefully reveal the truth to everyone else. The onus lies entirely on Roswell, or at least, 90% of it does. The remaining 10% lies on some other party. Subaru would rather not encourage any unneeded anxiety at the moment. Amelia, Subaru, are you okay? The face you're making is so weird. Subaru, seriously? What's it look like? Amelia, well, it's like your eyes gwint nastier, like this. Subaru, seriously? My face looks that cute? Amelia, but it's not cute. Amelia's fingers pull the corners of her eyes upwards, as she mimics Subaru's expression. Even when she's trying to emulate something so awful, her cuteness overrides it. Such is her charm. Amelia pouts while Garfield angrily seats himself. Subaru watches Louis prepare tea for Garfield as he speaks to Roswell, the only one left standing. Subaru, anyway, welcome back. Did you finish what you went out to do? Roswell, yeah, how keenly I do feel Subaru-kun's kindness. And yes, without issue. I visited several villages within my domain and our new domicile. Subaru, never mind the domicile, you went around the territory? For what? Roswell, cause of the ruckus from the territory's Lord's Mansion Bjorning down. Should I fail to demonstrate my good health, some rapscallions may begin devising plots. I make it a rule to attend thoroughly to my land's peace and safety. Subaru, thoughts on the land's lord being the worst rapscallion devising the worst plots? Roswell, harsh. My citizens suffered no harm, and the villagers of Arlem are ignorant to the truth. Do you not think that this persistently thorny attitude of yours will hinder us in the future? Subaru, GHNNGH. Never misses a beat. With that sharp jab of criticism, Roswell regains his previous composure. If Subaru publicly reveals that Roswell was the one behind this whole affair, then it only disadvantages them, both in regards to the royal selection and management of the territory. And so even the people of Arlem village still believe that Roswell is a good lord. Only Petra, who knows the truth, holds a different opinion. But she understands her current circumstances, and that the only thing to gain from revealing the truth is self-satisfaction. So it's doubtful that she'll do anything extreme. Cleverness does occasionally force people into making cruel decisions. Subaru, but that doesn't make it fine for you utilize this. You forget that, and once Emiliatan's on the throne you're getting the guillotine. Roswell, terrifying. However, even then I may have a chance to fulfill my goal. Garfield, we ain't fucking talking about you meeting your goddamn goals. Gonna make Ram cry if you keep coming up with more bullcrap ideas, white piece of shit. Surprisingly, Garfield cuts in to stop Roswell's provocations. Roswell's brows shoot up in surprise, and he casually raises his hands. Roswell, goodness, right. I don't particularly wish to fight with you all away anyway. Why must this escalate into an argument, when I only came here to show my return? I must find this all rare unproductive. Amelia, it's because you're saying things to make Subaru and Garfield mad. And I can tell you're doing it on purpose. Enough of that, stop provoking people. You're not a child. Roswell attempts to condescendingly resolve the issue, when Amelia presses down on him from further above, her hand to her hip. Roswell's eyes shoot open in surprise, while Amelia continues. Amelia, you don't have to be so anxious, we all remember what you did and what you promised. There's no point in purposefully acting bad and worrying everyone. You are just so hopeless. Amelia sounds like she's scolding a disobedient child. But it seems impossible to dismiss her statements as incorrect or misplaced, and Roswell remains silent without any rebuttals. In fact, the way he narrows his eyes and grimaces awkwardly makes it feel like Amelia hit the bullseye. Though Subaru doesn't actually believe that Roswell is seriously operating off such childish sentiments. Subaru, that really did clear the air though. As we expect from Amelia Tan. Amelia. Thank you. Also, there had to more reasons for why you went around the domain than just that. What else did you do, Roswell? Roswell, you've grown more perceptive. I patrolled the region for reasons as stated, to demonstrate my health, and to prepare the residents of Sanctuary for their migration. Garfield, preparations to move. Those words keep Garfield from staying silent. Lewis hurriedly returns to his side as he slams his palms on the table. Garfield, that means prepping where they're going, yeah? Roswell, assuredly. Their time as refugees means that Arlem Village is the best place to accept them. But there's a limit to what the village can hold. Should their population double from its original number, they won't be able to sustain themselves. They could expand the village, of course, but that runs into the problem of the barrier. Garfield, barrier? Why fucker, you fucking laid more those fucking things all over fucking. Subaru, no hold up, Garfield. We're not talking about a barrier like sanctuaries. There's a whole bunch of witch beasts lurking in the mountains around there. So there's a barrier around the village to keep them away. That's the one Roswell's talking about. That barrier is what spurred the whole witch beast debacle. It's entirely infeasible to coexist with the witch beasts, and being that the village needs this segregation, it's difficult to expand Arlem Village. Roswell, Subaru-kun explained it perfectly, here's the issue. YEIH means that the people of Sanctuary must be distributed partly to Arlem Village, and then individually to other contenders. Regardless of where welcomes them, they cannot stay together as people of Sanctuary infinitely. I do feel the heart-wrenching sorrow, as I watch them leave the nest. Lewis, impudence and prattle. Lewis cannot hold in the insults as Roswell feigns tears. Roswell crafts a smile and continues. Roswell, so, I made a quick rounds of the territory. Though for interests of distance and time, I nearly visited the nearby locations. I sent messengers to the other townships, seeing as we have an abundance of issues that need resolution. Subaru, yes seriously. You don't get back to your office quick, and Otto's gonna die from karoshi. It's where you die crushed between the weight of responsibility and work. Roswell, what a novel way to die. Very intriguing. Subaru agrees but doesn't pursue the topic. Roswell's back, so Ram should be more lively. Is how far Subaru thinks before he tilts his head, feeling something awry. Amelia, actually, and said she left to welcome you, but she's not with you? It seems that Amelia hit upon the same question. Roswell raises his finger. Roswell, that's because I had a request for her. I was thinking to address one of those issues requiring resolution. Amelia, issues requiring resolution? Roswell, the one in the banquet hall. I believe that you have already prepared yourself for it, Amelia-sama. Amelia. Amelia's shoulders jerk up in surprise. But the shock only lasts an instant. Her expression immediately turns serious, and she glances at Subaru with strong volition in her amethyst eyes. He savors the tingle down his spine as he tilts his head, questioning. But nobody gives him a clear answer. Amelia, okay. Is it starting right now? Roswell, we can start the instant that you are ready. And we still have time before the pie is done cooking. I would say that now is the perfect time for it. Amelia, this is such an important thing, but doesn't this all feel so sloppy? Roswell, it's presently difficult for us to schedule any designated times. Considering that you'll be occupied from tomorrow onwards, should we not take advantage of this opportunity? Amelia, yeah, okay. I'll do it. Roswell nods, entirely satisfied. The two of them look to have reached an agreement, but Subaru has no idea what they're discussing. Garfield and Lewis must also be in the dark. Subaru, hey, stop going off agreeing to things by yourselves. What are you talking about? You better not be trying to make Amelia Tan do anything funny again. Roswell, that would be a terrible misunderstanding, Subaru-kun. And do relax. This issue not only involves Amelia-sama, but very much yourself Aoi as well. Subaru, what do you mean I'm also involved? Before he can finish his sentence, Roswell draws his face near. Subaru unwittingly backs away, his back hitting the wall, and Roswell's finger landing on his nose. Roswell, we're discussing the ceremony for your cherished knighthood. Subaru, you know. Usually you don't keep the details of an important event a secret from the people involved. Do people throw surprise weddings for the bride and groom? Are surprise funerals ever a thing? No, they are not. Having been dragged into a room to get changed, Subaru complains while taking off his tracksuit. The news from Roswell in the dining room was an absolute shock to him. Knighthood. The ceremony where the master acknowledges their subordinate as their knight, and all others recognize their change in status. It comes with extensive formalities and etiquette, which surely differ by the country and by worldview. Subaru has witnessed many such ceremonies in manga and anime, but it's inconceivable that he'd remember what they had in common and what diverged. And of course he can't be expected to know the etiquette for a Lugnik and accolade. Subaru, expect they all went and fucking prepared everything like that's the obvious thing to do. Maybe that damn Anrose was jealous about how I'm all over Amelia Tan and's trying to humiliate me. Otto, I'd surely think not. While naturally the star of an accolade is the knight who receives it, their master is the one obligated to inform them. If Anrose-sama acted out of such pointless bullheadedness, it would humiliate not only yourself but Amelia-sama. Do you believe that someone as clever as her would do that? Subaru glances over to Otto, who is assisting with his change of clothes. You may ask, how do you possibly assist with a change in clothes, but these ceremonial outfits have various modes of dress. That Subaru doesn't know. Klein, Natsuki-sama. The correct way to wear this requires you to begin with this undervestment and proceed with these lowers. Advice. Subaru, thanks. Or no, actually these clothes fit me so well it's creepy. How long has this ceremony been planned exactly? Klein, it was raised in discussion instantly following your arrival in our household. And once decisions were made to hold the ceremony after Roswell-sama's return. I assure you that Amelia-sama has studied and rehearsed the ceremony thoroughly. Report. Subaru, the report's late. And why was Amelia Tan keeping it a secret too? Otto, perhaps because it would be awkward? Anyway, you truly don't know a single step of the process? That would present something of a problem. Subaru puts his arms through the sleeves of the clothes that Klein gives him, lost on what to do. Otto perceives Subaru's genuine discomposure, and seems to start seeing the obstacles impeding this ceremony. Subaru, right? It's doomed. I'm glad Amelia Tan feels this way, and it's crazy how honored I am to receive a knighthood, but we're screwed if this ceremony fizzles out, aren't we? Yeah, okay, I'd better get on my hands and knees and beg for this to be postponed. Why step forward when you're called, and kneel before Amelia-sama? Then why draw your sword from its scabbard and pass it to her? Amelia-sama takes the sword and puts it to your neck, she speaks the oath, then you accept the oath in return. Facile. Subaru, what, seriously? Mutters Subaru in shock. Everyone in the room gazes at Garfield, who crosses his arms. Garfield, what? Why don't he believe me? Subaru, it's not that, it's that I'm shocked that you know this. How out of character is it for you to be versed in formal events like this? Garfield, no, Captain. It ain't that I know anything about formal events. Garfield waves his hand in astonishment, but that doesn't eliminate the fact that he just outlined the formal process of an accolade. Subaru furrows his brows questioningly, and... Garfield, it's just that knighthood's re-awesome so I memorized it. Subaru, oh okay. Got it. The reasoning is so convincing that Subaru instantly agrees with it. His mighty Chuyuni mind offers assistance even here. Of course Garfield would know about accolades. Is the persuasiveness of this argument. Otto, does that account align with your knowledge, Klein-san? Klein, I am only scantily versed in the topic, but my knowledge does coincide with what I heard. I bow my head before Garfield-sama's mastery. Succinct. Otto, but that makes it sound as though you also know the procedure. No, never mind. Disregard that comment. Otto's life is one of opening cans of worms to find demons inside. Nobody who witnessed the mysterious gleam in Klein's monocle I would criticize Otto for his retreat. Either way, Subaru smooths the wrinkles out of his clothes, puts on his jacket, and begins adorning it with the required ornamentations. Subaru, this outfit is crazy. It took me ages to get used to the butler uniform, but I don't think I'll ever own this look. Otto, you won't be granted enough opportunities to wear it that you could say that you own it. It would be another case, were you entering nobility, though. I suppose it's yet unclear what your future will bring. Subaru, meaning? Otto, Emilia-sama is on the social ladder. Being that you are following her, I suspect you will attend more than a few events in this vein. This outfit was specifically tailored, after all. While feeling admiration for Otto's peace, thoughts of the future depress Subaru. He imagines these formal events, and his heart shivers, inept as it is at remaining stoic. Though these worries are only to be had if he safely gets through this upcoming ceremony. Subaru, goddamn Roswell, but he hid it on purpose to make a laughingstock of me. Garfield, sulkin' ain't gonna help you none, Captain. Now repeat what my amazin' self said to make sure you don't forget it. Subaru, I kneel, draw the sword from its scabbard, give it to her, and say the oath. I mean I've gone through 2 graduation ceremonies, I can at least memorize this much. Except he attended those ceremonies after properly practicing for them. Subaru, I know it's way late in saying, but if this is an accolade then all the Imperial Knights must have done it. Otto, not only the Imperial Knights, but everyone who holds the title of Knight. Though I believe it's rare to disregard all these requirements and pledge directly to a master. Usually you would swear fealty to the nation before selecting a master. Subaru, so it's the difference between serving the country and serving an individual. I think it's right to be serving an individual. Either way. He can say I am a knight, but it doesn't feel true. Subaru has proclaimed himself as Emilia's knight multiple times. Insisted it. Even though he knows his false title is gaining legitimacy, he cannot exactly accept it. He also questions how exactly being recognized as a knight will change him too. Subaru, all this after you dressed me in these actual clothes. Seriously, this fits me perfectly. When did you take my measurements? Klein, daily, interspersed between breaks in your awareness. I had already confirmed that it fit, but it elates me to see you dressing. Splendiferous. Subaru, I'm unsurprised about the measurements, but when did you check the fit? Have I somehow been dressed in this outfit before? Klein gives no reply as he smiles and brings Subaru, who has finished dressing, over to a mirror. As Subaru stands reflected in the full-length mirror, his breath catches. He wears a black ceremonial outfit that clearly exceeds his standing, opulently, but not outrageously decorated. No matter how Subaru poses, the captivating clothes make it look good. And when he holds himself soberly, indeed this is an outfit for formal ceremonies. But yeah, it definitely feels like Subaru is inferior to the clothes. Something feels off, like he's attending Ch.6-Ending or something. Even so. Otto, It looks better on you than I expected. Garfield, does feel like clothes re-wearing you, but they ain't totally defeated ya. YCN relax, Captain. Klein, indeed, it suits you well. Emilia-sama's impression of you shall surely climb to even greater heights. Amicability rising. Subaru, you sincerely think that? You all sincerely honestly think that? Subaru readjusts his collar times upon time as she glances suspiciously at Otto, who despite his frankness, failed to mock Subaru's appearance. But Otto's expression remains perfectly stable, and he gazes at Subaru with pride. Not even Subaru can possibly reply to that. Garfield, here, take this, Captain. No amount of fiddling will invite any dramatic change. Subaru sighs as he turns around, and Garfield supportingly hands him his knight blade. Subaru reflexively accepts it, when the slender thing makes him swallow his breath. Klein, it would be best that you used your own favored blade, but being that you possess none, our household provided this. You may keep it should you so fancy. Gift. Subaru, a knight's sword, huh? And it's real, naturally? Otto, I doubt you would ever find a wooden sword with such excellent craftsmanship. Only a child would find joy in something like THHM? Am I sensing a new business opportunity? While witnessing the potential birth of wooden swords in parallel world souvenir shops, Subaru feels the weight of the sword in his hands. This is not his first time holding a sword. Last was during the Witch Beast affair in Arlem village, when he went into the mountains with Ram to search for REM. He accepted a sword from the village's men's brigade, wielding the thing with barely any thought. The sword broke before he could use it to fight any witch beasts, so while it didn't manage to be anything decisive, it did provide Subaru with his first experience in stabbing a living creature with a blade, which he has never done since. This knight blade should be thinner and lighter than that previous one. But the weight he currently feels in his hands is beyond compare. Subaru. He unconsciously clicks his throat, a constricting feeling in his chest. The weight from that sword and this sword are entirely different. And Subaru knows that the entire purpose of this ceremony is to recognize that fact. Otto, Natsuki-san. I'll come and call you before it begins. I'll do the final inspection of your dress then, so please make sure to keep it orderly. Subaru understood. Otto must have seen the shift in Subaru's expression, and sensed how he was beginning to properly face the ceremony. With those words, he and the others leave the room. Subaru. Left by himself in the room, Subaru drags over a nearby chair and seats himself before the mirror. With the sword in his hands and his visage in the mirror, he submerges himself in thought. Night. The weight of the title presses down on Subaru's shoulders. Had Subaru ever seriously considered the significance of this word he so frivolously used? Naturally, he had been entirely serious back then. He would not use this as armor to conceal his rashness in proclaiming himself as Emilia's knight. However, Subaru, Julius, Reinhardt. Subaru thinks of the upper echelon of knights in this country. One is the Knight of Knights. One is the Knight Impeccable. They are the pride of knighthood and the emblem of anything knightly. When Subaru called himself a knight, ignorant to those facts, Julius sternly beat the truth into him. Subaru, what a knight needs is power and fealty. I think was it. If those are the requirements, then Subaru is still unfit to be a knight. Subaru's feelings for Emilia are nothing as majestic as fealty. He is incapable on his own, and fails to meet average capabilities even with Beatrice's help. Both his power and his fealty are as insufficient as ever. But now he has the will that he previously lacked. It's not fealty, but it's comparably strong. He might lack power, but he has the spirit and resolve to compensate for what he lacks. He can't change that he seems too awkward to be called a knight, but that's what makes it Subaru. Like hell, Natsuki Subaru is suited to anything so magnificent as chivalry. What? Seems that I didn't need to visit after all, in fact. It happens as Subaru faces himself in the mirror, having resolved one point. He sees a small silhouette standing beside him, hunched forward as he is. The girl reflected aside him in the mirror, with her long, extravagant pigtails, is Beatrice. Subaru, I'm getting dressed. You dirty lowly. Beatrice, you're already dressed, I suppose. And I was asked to come here to do something since you looked so persistently uncertain, in fact. So I had to come here to give you a slap on the back, I suppose. But it seems that I didn't need to, in fact. Subaru, those guys. Who was the meddler here? Otto? Garfield? Perhaps even Klein? Or maybe it was all of them, and Subaru has to smile bitterly at how probable it is. Indeed. There is no one more suited to give Subaru a pep talk at this moment than Beatrice. She is the best choice. So he'll impose on her care. And accordingly uplift Beatrice's expression, as she regrets the needlessness of her presence here. Subaru, my back. Beatrice. Subaru, if you're gonna slap me, then please do it. I do feel like I've sorted some things out, but I'm still looking for that final push. Beatrice's eyes widen in shock. Her expression is so incredibly darling that Subaru has to keep himself from chuckling. Subaru, come on please. Beatrice, you don't have to worry yourself. I know I'm not worried myself, I suppose. Subaru, I'm not saying this out of worry. I just think that, no matter who gives you that slap on the back, that winds up being the final push. So if I'm choosing who that person is, then I want it to be you. Beatrice. Subaru, I want you to slap me on the back and be the final strength. I need to be Emilia's knight. It feels more like me that way. He might just be saying it for peace of mind, but that's great. What's so bad about peace of mind? Perhaps it's just an issue with how he's feeling. But that just makes it more legitimate. Of course he should have her make him feel better then. Because the heart always expresses itself with the simplest language. Beatrice, why you hopeless fool, in fact. You'd be absolutely lost without Betty, I suppose. Subaru, yeah, I would. I'm utterly useless without you. And when I'm with you I'm normally useless. Beatrice, which means you're still useless, in fact. Sheer discourtesy, I suppose. Subaru, and now this useless fool's gonna be Emilia's knight and gradually stop being so useless. So whenever I do start bordering on uselessness, I'm putting my hopes on you. Subaru lifts himself from the chair and pats Beatrice's head. Beatrice looks dissatisfied with his vigorous manhandling, but makes no motion to stop him, and voices not a single complaint. Subaru. After sating himself with Beatrice pats, Subaru slowly turns to present her his back. And surely she understands what this means. She takes a faint breath, readying herself. Beatrice, Haya, in fact. Subaru. With an adorable shout, the noise of her palm peels through the room. The impact from her small hand stings more than Subaru expected. And an even greater shock runs from his back into his whole body. Subaru, man, you're surprisingly strong. Beatrice, I didn't walk around carrying big, heavy books every day for nothing, I suppose. Beatrice's bragging makes him think back on her time in the archive. Why yes, Beatrice was always reading books sizable enough to conceal her small frame. Today is where she showcases the effects of constantly bearing all that weight. Though he doesn't know if muscle workouts actually do anything for spirits. Subaru, so we've unexpectedly uncovered a muscle magician. Massive Biko. Beatrice, I suspect you just used an incredibly terrible epithet on me in fact. Subaru, just your imagination. And man, that fired me up. Thanks. Beatrice, you're my contractor, so of course I do this, I suppose. Blushing slightly, Beatrice averts her gaze from Subaru. It makes him want to pat her again. But before he can reach out to her. Klein, Natsuki-sama, the time is near. Preparations. Klein knocks on the door and peers in, summoning him. With the seconds looming in closer, he gulps from the tension. But his limbs and face feel less rigid than he expected. The pent-up tension loosens him up in a good way, and he quietly sings the praises of Beatrice's unexpectedly effective slap. Klein, a seat has been prepared for you as well, Beatrice-sama. As I shall also be humbly attending, I would hold the greatest of appreciation supposing that you may accept my presence. Understanding. Subaru, okay, got it. Please don't laugh if I mess up. Klein, as you command. Solemnity. Klein waits outside the door to escort Subaru, who gives a sigh and clicks his neck. He glances back to Beatrice, unsure of what to say. Subaru, well, I'm off. Beatrice, as you should be, in fact. It's a simple exchange, but it's enough. Her words and actions have already given him more than enough. Beatrice, Subaru. But at the very end of the end, Beatrice halts Subaru one last time. Just before he leaves the room, Subaru glances back to a red-faced Beatrice. Beatrice, that outfit looks great on you, I suppose. And with that, she supplies him with the last bit of confidence he needed. Final chapter, a nonsense dance, under the moonlight. Subaru has been in this hall before, but it looks nothing like how he remembers it. Candelabra line the red carpet. The flickering of their crimson flame steeps the room in further formality, prompting everyone in attendance to straighten their posture. Almost all of the important people of the mansion stand evenly by the wall. Which means the main players of this story, but also includes some attendants from the Milord household. Assembling only people relevant to Subaru means monopolizing the assembly with his in-group. Even he understands that many more people must play witness to this event. But, having said that, should they truly have brought all of the Lewis doubles along? Lewis nodded at him, telling him not to worry about it, but of course it's going to nag at him. Although he knows that the girls are harmless unless directed, the uncertainty over what they might possibly do unsettles him. Though, everyone else must share that same anxiety, except about Subaru. There are so many points worthy of ridicule among the people here. All the main players are primly dressed in formal wear, which is hilarious. Never mind Roswell and Anne Rose, who seem accustomed to the outfits. Otto and Garfield look even more awkward in their get-ups than Subaru. And disregard how Garfield scrunches up his face, irked by his stuffy collar. Otto hasn't even noticed how blatantly awkward he looks. Guy's a riot. The servants include Frederica and Klein, who are always in formal wear. Subaru does have some qualms about Ram, who stands with them in her maid outfit as if this is entirely reasonable. But once he sees what is beside her, his breath catches. A blue-haired girl, seated in a chair. Her eyes are closed. Naturally. She is still asleep. Subaru resents how considerate Ram was to bring her here, and have her attend the ceremony. He resents how Ram smirks at him, announcing that she was the one who proposed this. Subaru looks further along to find Petra gazing at him, finely dressed as he is, with pride. Her dress amplifies her splendor, and she shines brightly enough to match Anne Rose and Beatrice. She's meant to be a simple village girl, so how do you explain her composure here? Beatrice wears the same outfit as always, but her expression towards Subaru is gentle. Her flushed cheeks remind him of their exchange in the dressing room, which starts making Subaru embarrassed as well. And standing before him is a silver-haired girl, waiting. In her ceremonial outfit, Emilia enchants Subaru with an utterly new kind of brilliance. Her silver hair shimmers like moonlight, and her amethyst eyes glimmer like jewels. Her face is tantalizingly beautiful as she purses her lips, apparently tense about this vital ceremony. The outfit amplifies the purity that Subaru usually feels about Emilia, hallowed as a priestess vestments, lined with sublime gold that keenly announces the nobility and seriousness of this ritual. The instant that Subaru sights her, everything in his head falls hush. The last vestiges of his bubbling emotions disperse, and everything except Emilia disappears from his mind. He is absolutely not going to make a mockery of this ceremony, or of the people watching. What does he need to do? Who does he need to be looking at? Where is his heart sitting? No need to tell him. He already knows. Nobody instructs him, his feet take the step forward. His footsteps make no sound upon the rich carpet. He forgets the weight of the knife blade at his hip, focused with passion holding him aloft, but calm as a resting sea, as he approaches Emilia. Even through the storm of onlooking gazes, his heart remains unshakable. The only thing to cast ripples in Subaru's heart, in this instant, is Emilia. He draws near to her, close enough to touch her. She stands on a dais, her tantalizingly beautiful cheeks rigid. Subaru kneels before her. With his knee to the ground, he bows his head. All the ceremonial customs that Garfield told him about take instant command of his body. He keeps his eyes closed as her intense gaze stares down at him. He could almost forget to breathe in this atmosphere. Pleasant stress plays on his skin as he looks up, and he takes the sword from his waist. He reverently lifts the weighty blade, unsheathing it horizontally before his chest. Light from the candles washes over the steel, lighting Subaru and Emilia's eyes equally bright. The beauty of the unsheathed blade burns itself into Subaru's eyes as he presents it to Emilia. She sees the sword cast before her. Her lips tremble with some form of sentiment. But she instantly asserts control over the words before they can spill, and she holds herself firm beneath the surge of emotion. Her pale fingers touch the sword. She slowly lifts the heavy thing, until its tip points to the ceiling. Emilia is beautiful as she holds the sword aloft. Subaru restrains his desires to witness the sight, bows his head, and closes his eyes. What is presented to Emilia is the sword, the pride of the knight, alongside his being and his neck, which are those of the knight. A knight devotes their life to their master. Subaru's posture illustrates this vow, making Emilia's lips and eyes waver. But her hesitation only lasts a moment. Her pursed lips and focused gaze carry not the slightest indecision. The point of the sword descends upon Subaru's left shoulder. She rests the flat of the blade on his shoulders, and the weight almost makes him cry out. The pressure bearing on him is nothing physical but mental. Perhaps this sensation is the one that every knight must bear, that thing called pride. In this exact instant, Natsuki Subaru finally understands it. The point of the blade moves to his right shoulder. He feels the weight identically, but the coolness of the blade remains with him this time. Of course. This is where the ceremony's most important moment begins. Silence falls upon the hall. No. The hall had been silent so far. The silence until now had been steeped in a strange tension, ardent and loud. But the silence in this instant carries a new fire. Absent of tension, absent of zeal, absent of anything, this silence is legitimate. A quiet that falls equally upon the heart of Emilia, of Subaru, of everyone in attendance. Only one person is granted the right to shatter it. To the sun that gazes over the radiant world, to the stars that watch the realm in its sleep. To the winds, to the waters, to the earth, to the light, to the spirits residing in everything. The silence shatters. Emilia's lips sing the ceremonial rite. To the grand world that received you, that nurtured you, that delivered you. Trembling. His heart is trembling. His teeth don't feel to sit right. What is his heart having trouble with? It irritates him to even question his mental turmoil. All he wants to do in this moment is drown in the chime of that bell. To the pride that supports you, that you built, that you fostered. He feels the heat in the gaze upon him compound. The passion burning inside him is ready to combust. His heart thumps wildly, maniacally, as he regardless waits for the question. To everything that watches over you, to the world that raised you, to the pride that supports you, let your way cast no shame. Without fear, without dread, without doubt, be as you are in your heart. The rite ends. The question is coming. This will end the ceremony. Not even Subaru knows the answer to this question. However, with your will always strong, and as everything that surrounds you does, will you swear to protect me from this moment forth? His heart does know how to answer Emilia's question. To the sun, to the stars, to the world, to my pride and. He will announce his gratitude and determination to everything stated in the rites. Before he makes the pledge, he thinks of people who he assuredly must thank. And so the words come naturally from his lips. To my mother and my father, I swear. I will protect you. I will realize your wishes. My name is Natsuki Subaru. He raises his head. The sword remains at his right cheek. But its gleam fails to catch his eye. The only thing he sees is the brilliant amethyst, gazing back at him. Emilia. I am your knight. He says the words, and she gives her answer. Emilia's eyes flood with emotion. But she manages to keep anything from spilling as she lifts the sword from Subaru's shoulder. She fixes its alignment and presents it back to him. He respectfully accepts it in both his hands, and sheathes it in its scabbard. Subaru returns the blade to his hip as he looks up at Emilia, still kneeling. He sees Emilia give a slight nod, and stands up. Where he? Also Emilia Tan, you look mega sexy cute in that outfit. You dummy. Shattering the seriousness of the ceremony, Emilia pokes out her tongue, red-faced. Many dishes line the table in the banquet hall. Social standing and class present no issue as everyone present at the accolade chats with each other, turning the buffet into something of a get-together. Subaru, I just went through one of the most stressful things of my life, and look at you, having all the fun. He watches the banquet from the terrace outside, bathed in the night wind. A plate of food from the table and a drink rest on the nearby railing, but the swell from before hasn't passed. He's having trouble getting any food or drink down his throat. The hot flush from his neck upwards isn't going away. His stomach tells him that he's hungry, but his chest is too full for anything to get through. Subaru. In the corner of his eye, he sees Petra dancing at the head of the hall in her dress. It's the kind of dance they do during festivals in Arlem Village, but with Petra's take on it, and with her proficiency in it, it is certainly fit for a noble's mansion. She pulls a blushing Beatrice along with her, forcing her into a shorty dance. Though she tries desperately to stay apathetic and expressionless, Subaru spots how her ears and nose tremble, unable to hold it in. As always, it's Petra dragging helpless Beatrice into it. Subaru's cheeks relax as he takes his glass. He's managed to secure enough composure to at least wet his tongue. Though, he's not ready to reach for Garfield and Frederica's pie just yet. There you are, Subaru. Subaru leans on the banister, staring up at the sky, when a voice calls him. He looks down to find a moon pixie, her beauty only embellished beneath its light. Subaru, or no, it's Emilia Tan. Thought it was an angel. Emilia, you're saying weird stuff again. Are you drunk? Subaru, I'm still underage, so no, I'm not drinking. If I'm drunk on anything, then it's on the atmosphere and my own ego. Emilia, see, so you are drunk. Emilia giggles, and Subaru has to furrow his brows at that. He sees her pale skin peeking out from beneath her neat dress, and the flush on her neck and cheeks, which makes him agree with her current state. Subaru, the heck, Emilia Tan. You go asking me if I'm drunk, when it looks like you're who's been drinking. Emilia, I haven't been. They just gave me some punch. I never drink alcohol and go all funny. Subaru, man, you're cute. Emilia pouts, completely forgetting the seriousness from the ceremony. Meaning that this right here is just a completely normal adorable girl. Emilia, so, Subaru. What are you doing alone out here? Subaru, well, I already told you. I'm drunk on the atmosphere and my ego. It's a frivolous reply, but not a completely inaccurate one either. What is there to call this but going out into the night alone, moping, unable to vent? Not that he can divulge his feelings to anyone so easily. Emilia, do you regret it? Subaru, absolutely not. Gonna be hearing none of that, Emilia. Emilia, I'm sorry for that. Sorry. But I'm happy too. Her cheeks still flushed from alcohol, Emilia takes a step closer to Subaru. She leans on the banister beside him. Their shoulders are close enough to touch, and even with clothes between them, Subaru's body flares hotter. Emilia, Subaru. I apologize that the accolade came out of nowhere. I'd been ready the whole time, so I thought you knew about it too. Subaru, no, I'm probably just an idiot for not realizing. Thinking back, you did keep asking me if I'd practiced, but I just came up with bullshit answers to brush it off every time. Emilia assumed that Subaru knew, and had been regularly checking on his progress. Subaru had simply never realized it, getting through the conversations with frivolities as they came, never understanding what Emilia was trying to say, while devoting himself to other things. And anyway, this whole accolade thing was Subaru, Roswell's fault. Actually, almost everything's been his fault lately. Is he trying to humiliate me? He's been going seriously overboard this last while. Emilia, I kinda think Roswell's always been like that, but yes, it does feel like he's been provoking you more than he used to. Maybe he wants your attention. Subaru, that's terrifying, Emilia Tan. Subaru's attention will only make Roswell an even more hopeless person, so let's not have that. Subaru grimaces at the surprisingly possible idea, and Emilia laughs, waving her hand easily. Emilia, I'm just joking. I don't think Roswell knows how he should act now that we know about his plotting. I'm sure that, in a bit, he'll go back to being like before. Subaru, if he goes back to being like before, it sounds like he didn't learn anything, but, well, it's better than him changing on us and leaving us lost on how to respond. It might seem like a half-hearted decision, but Subaru will agree with it for now. With that part of the conversation over, Emilia takes a sip from her glass. She's had it with her the entire time, and if Subaru's guess is correct, then it's the alcoholic kind of punch. It feels like Emilia is getting more intoxicated, which both scares and interests him. Emilia, say, Subaru. Subaru, what? The alcohol's heating you up, so it's time to get undressed? Better not do it here. Okay, let's find somewhere else. Off we go. Emilia, sorry. I'm not entirely sure what you're saying. No, we're staying here. Emilia shoots Subaru a slight glare. It makes him shrink back and lower his head when she jerks her chin toward the banquet hall. Emilia, they look like they're having fun. Subaru, they do. It's a noble mansion, but even the servants are welcome, feels really cozy. As a member of the lower middle-class peasantry, I'd say it's basically the ideal. Emilia, I agree. I think it's so wonderful. Subaru notices the affection and desire in her amethyst eyes. Subaru and Emilia might not be witnessing the same picture. Emilia is surely seeing a peaceful scene, absent of any class or race-based discrimination. Subaru only perceives the superficial layer of things. Their viewpoints differ completely. They see the same thing, but think differently. And Subaru thinks the discrepancy is fine. Emilia, what's going on, Subaru? You look so peaceful. Subaru, I wonder. Maybe I'm just happy that I'm here, seeing the same things as you, Emilia Tan. Emilia, really? Then I'm happy that you're seeing things the same way. Subaru, I don't know. I might not be. But I think it's alright for us to differ. Emilia glances at Subaru. He feels her gaze, but keeps looking straight ahead, his cheeks relaxing into a slight smile. Emilia notices him smiling and nods. It happens right when they reach their understanding that. Subaru, oh, goddamn Otto. He's overdoing it, doubt he can even hold his liquor. In the middle of the hall, Garfield challenges Otto to drink a full glass of expensive-looking alcohol in one go. Otto slams the glass back down to the table, having beautifully chugged the whole thing, to the applause of the onlooking crowd. But Otto's face flushes bright red before swiftly paling dead white. Following this transformation, Garfield immediately shoulders Otto and goes rushing out of the hall. Subaru, guess they're going to the toilet. Emilia, will Otto-kun be okay? He kind of looked like how the dogs in the forest do when they eat poison mushrooms, just then. Subaru, you should know what's up now that you've drunk yourself to your limit and hit adulthood, Emilia Tan. Emilia, is that how it works? Subaru, no, I mean I don't know. He's underage. And how expensive was that liquor that Otto just drank, and is probably regurgitating? Doubtful that anything cheap or mass-produced is going to be included in this banquet. Subaru shoots Roswell a glance. Perceptive as he is, Roswell catches the look and raises his glass to Subaru. The Margrave and his clown makeup easily drinks the same alcohol that defeated Otto. Either his dignity is winning, or he's just used to the liquor. Emilia, Subaru. I want to tell you something. Subaru, what a coincidence. I want you to tell me something too. Breaking the silence that falls between them, Emilia whispers quietly enough to Subaru that only he will hear. He nods, and while still leaning on the railing, adjusts his posture. Emilia turns to face him too, leaving them gazing at each other within breathing range. Subaru reflexively steps backwards, but... Emilia, no running. Emilia's hand grabs him, stopping his retreat. The step he took winds up as a half-step, putting them even closer than before. Subaru stumbles forward and bumps onto Emilia's forehead. He hurriedly tries to draw back, but Emilia's grip on his ceremonial dress prevents him. Subaru, Emilia Tan? I'm happy about this situation, but it's sorta a little tense for a conversation. Emilia, I'm tense too. This is my first time having such an important talk with anyone. So we're even. Subaru, and no, I think I'm winning here. He desperately tries to smile and brush this off, but Emilia won't let him go. Emilia is warm against him as he attempts to at least ease his own stress, and awkwardly moves to hide Emilia from the banquet hall. It is obvious that they're hugging when they're horizontal like this. If Subaru shuffles over a little, then it should just look like he's got his hands on the railing, staring up at the night sky and waxing poetic. Subaru, okay, so those worries are dealt with, now tell me anything. Emilia, okay, here's a talk between me and my Sir Knight. It's about why Roswell invited me to participate in the royal selection. Subaru. Emilia has never discussed this with Subaru before. And it must have something to do with the trial that so consistently discouraged her. Subaru swallows his breath and looks down at Emilia. Their gazes crash into one another. Seeing himself reflected in Emilia's eyes, Subaru nods with determination. Emilia, before Elier Forest was frozen, I used to live there with my mother and with the other elves. It's a tale of happy memories, a tale of sorrowful memories. While it comes with its hiccups and pauses, Emilia sincerely tells Subaru the story. Emilia didn't know her parents. Fortuna loved Emilia in their place. The villages kindly accepted them when they had nowhere to go. And then there was the organization called the Witch Cult, secretly helping the village, and this character named Juice. It was a limited world, but one that showered Emilia in love and kindness. And it was all ruined on the day that Elier Forest froze. The Witch Cult acted brutally as the witch named Pandora and the cardinal appeared. The arrival of the witch beast Blacksnake, and Fortuna and Juice's tragedy. Emilia kept her mother's problems, and so lost both her and the village. Then came Puck, who she met upon awakening after a long time in the ice. Emilia, Puck said he'd always been waiting for me, that he'd always been looking for me. Then he stayed with me, protecting me, just like he said he would. Even now, he's inside this spellstone, waiting to be woken up. I can tell. Subaru, but you can't speak with him, can you? Emilia, he's still asleep. But it's not because he's denying a contract with me. I don't think this spellstone will work as his anchor if he's awake. It needs to be a higher grade, colorless spellstone. If I can just find one, and then something to trigger it. I know he'll come back. A blue spellstone hangs on a pendant around Emilia's neck. It's a piece of the massive spellstone that sealed Lewis Meyer. It proves insufficient for holding Puck, and the sleeping spirit cannot communicate with the outside. As if his help during the Garfield fight was really, truly his final contribution. Subaru, I understand what's going on with Puck. But, about the royal selection? Emilia, me and Puck spent all that time in the frozen forest. Sometimes I went to the nearby towns too, but they weren't really very welcoming. Subaru cannot even imagine how alienating that weren't really very was. And it's doubtful that Emilia ever anticipated that she would speak of it. Emilia, then Roswell came. I think, not even a year ago yet. But it was so sudden that it left me and Puck so shocked. Subaru, well I'd be shocked too, if a guy in clown makeup popped up out of nowhere. Emilia, that's true, but what shocked us was that he was in this inaccessible forest. I was on my way back from the village, and he was just standing there waiting for me. And he was playing dumb like always, like, he'll come back. Subaru, well. That's certainly surprising. It's too late to be commenting on Roswell's mean-spiritedness, but Subaru can imagine the shock it gave Emilia and Puck at the time. Emilia, Puck got so cross, he went from morning to night, just fighting with Roswell. Thinking back on it, it's a good thing he didn't freeze Roswell solid. Subaru, I mean your smile's adorable, but that's not really something to smile about. Emilia, I guess. Anyway, Puck and Roswell told each other what they wanted while they were fighting, and they managed to start a discussion. Subaru, and Roswell lured you in by proposing to melt the forest. Emilia's eyes widen. Subaru smiles wryly at her reaction. Subaru, it's obvious from how the story was going. And I happened to hear something along those lines before. But, you know. But there's been a shift in Emilia's awareness since then. Before, she said that she was incapable of freezing Elier Forest. That she was unable to thaw the ice, even with Puck's help. However, Subaru, if you froze the forest, can't you unfreeze it? Emilia, I had that thought too. But I doubt I can. Subaru, how come? Emilia, I just can't reach the same power that I had in my memories. It's an anxious, but confident statement. Subaru furrows his brows. The power I had in my memories. If what Emilia said is accurate, then that means power beyond human knowledge. Not even this witch Pandora could find an opening in Emilia's assault. So how come Emilia doesn't have it now? Subaru, but you fought the sizable hare without backing down an inch. Emilia, I don't need Puck or the minor spirit's help to cast magic anymore. But that's all. I still can't draw that power out. Subaru. Lamenting her powerlessness, Emilia clenches her fist and weakly shakes her head. Her expression, ashamed of her inadequacy, instead shames Subaru for feeling dejected. Emilia, of all people, is frustrated about herself. Subaru knows this, so he should not be capable of casting any criticism on her. And it's not even that he wants Emilia to be strong, really. Subaru, okay, no more self-blame. Back to the topic. We'll agree that you can't melt the ice, so how is Roswell thinking to do it? Amelia. Subaru, if you can't do it and Puck can't do it, then Roswell shouldn't be able to either. Maybe he's an amazing magician, but he can't be 10 or 20 times stronger than you. So how? Amelia, it's not that Roswell himself is melting the ice. But Roswell knows something that might melt the ice, all he did was tell me about it. Subaru, something that might melt it? Something that can thaw the forest that not even the Witch of Glaciation could melt, not even with a spirit's help, and not even with ultimate magical power. What on earth could it be? Amelia, dragon's blood. Subaru. Amelia, the blood of the dragon, that grants bountiful harvests upon the land and cures deviant earth. He said it could definitely thaw the forest. Subaru, Amelia, but that means killing the dragon. Doesn't it? She means to sacrifice the dragon, which has always protected the kingdom of Ludnica, for the sake of her forest. For an instant, the incredible question rushes through Subaru's mind. But Amelia, no, Subaru. I only need 1 drop of blood. And the dragon's blood has been used to revitalize the soil during a famine in Ludnica before. I read that in a history book, so it's definitely true. Subaru, what? So, no, that seriously freaked me out for a second. I mean, if we did something like kill the dragon, would that not free the witch, sealed by the dragon's power? Subaru. Anxiety clenches in Subaru's chest, and he forgets to breathe. The witches he met at Echidna's tea party. And the witch of envy, who saw him off at the end. Subaru has not forgotten her. He will never forget his resolve from their last instant of goodbye. But she must not be let free. She must not be loosed on the world. His instincts assuredly tell him so. Amelia, the royalty of Ludnica get a chance to talk to the dragon when they form the covenant. And some drops of the holy dragon Volcanica's blood have been kept in the palace, from back then. When I'm ruler, I want to use that power. Subaru, so that's why you're participating. Amelia, I told you before. The reason I'm participating is so selfish. And there my selfish reason is. He can hear a smile in her words, but it's an uneasy one. And her eyes do waver with anxiety as she looks up at him. She looks scared of what he will say, and what he will think of her resolve. It seems he's allowed to believe that he is such an implacable fixture to her, that he can make her feel this unease. Subaru, don't worry, Amelia Tan. I'm not gonna get disillusioned over something like that. Amelia, Subaru. Subaru, you say it's self-centered, but you're not looking for your own gain. You know how to save people you want to save, and instead of dirtying your hands with something like theft, you decide to use legitimate methods. There's nothing to criticize about that. Subaru gives her a reassuring smile. But her expression remains anxious. Subaru knows. This isn't what she wants to hear. If he's going to give her something closer to what she's really looking for, then. Subaru, are you shrinking back because you think your motivator is inferior to the other candidates? Amelia, HK. Subaru, that's a case of grass is greener on the other side. Crush-san's an amazing person with an amazing goal, yeah, but think about Anastasia-san and Priscilla. Their rationale SRE nothing praiseworthy. Greed and ego. That's what motivates them to participate. Subaru wasn't there to hear it, but what venerable reason could Felt give to be participating in the selection? Amelia's desire to save people is not in any way inferior. Subaru, and no matter what you wanted at the start, it's something different now, isn't it? Amelia, how can you tell? Subaru, because you were looking so peacefully at the banquet hall. Unfolding in the Milord Banquet Hall is a site where humans and demi-humans, nobles and servants and commoners, all interact without any division between race or class. Subaru called it the ideal, and Amelia gazed at it with longing. Subaru knows exactly how the fire in Amelia's heart is kindled. Subaru, if your goal's to see that again, I'm helping you. I agree that it's wonderful. No one's gonna stop you from adding that onto your list of reasons for trying. Amelia, you'll really help me? Subaru, what do you think I just swore to you? Stop worrying, I want you to rely on me first. When you want help I'll help you, and when you're unsure we'll solve the problem together. Amelia. Amelia swallows her breath, her eyes wavering. What should she say? Her trembling lips cannot clearly state what she feels. Amelia, So she mutters only that. And smiles. That's all I need, thinks Subaru. Subaru, alright, my doubts are all vanished. With that, Subaru drinks what's left in the glass on the railing. Then he grabs his thoroughly cooled meat pie, tosses it in his mouth, chews. The cool cannot degrade this flavor, and the pie just melts in his mouth. Indeed, this is a masterpiece that lives up to Garfield's boasting. Emilia, Subaru, you'll choke if you eat so quickly. Subaru, I'll savor every bite if you feed it to me. Emilia, I feel like I've done that somewhere before when you were exhausted. Subaru grins somewhat wryly in response, and leads Emilia by the hand to the hall. She looks up at the sky once, before accepting Subaru's escort and entering the hall alongside him. The party is still underway, and heats up with the star guest's return. After bringing back a drunk Otto, Garfield blacks out at the hands of Frederica and Ram's joint sneak attack, denying him his attempts to drink alcohol. Petra and Beatrice's uncoordinated dance reaches its climax. Sweat drips from Petra's brow, and Beatrice is determined to put in an equal effort. Anne-Rose looks displeased that Subaru has returned with Emilia, but Klein pokes his master's puffed cheeks, aggravating her. Louis and Roswell stand side by side, toast to their repaired relationship, and sip from their glasses. Subaru, it's wonderful, Emilia Tan. Emilia, yes. It's exactly what I want to see. I'll always remember it. So let's have a night to always remember. They intrude on the two girls, dancing in the most conspicuous spot in the room. They don't know a single step, but they enjoy themselves all the same. Through a sea of smiles and confusion, the night in which the new master and servant begin their nonsense dance. End of Interludes.